Good evening, everyone. I'm Halima. Welcome you all to the client engagement inner circle meet today. Wonderful to see you all here. Rajesh, you're the first one, so welcome. Thank you for being so prompt and joining in time. Uh, we will be beginning the session in another 2 minutes, so request you all to stay tuned. Hi Sunit, hi Srinivas. Yes, we will be recording the session, so we'll definitely share that with you once the session is over. Request you all to stay until the end of the session because we will have the representatives from HDFC and Flywire who are here only to answer all the questions or concerns that you may have. So request you all to pay attention to the information that will be shared by Mr. Satish Chandra so that you can keep your questions and concerns ready during the Q&A session. So stay tuned till the end and we will begin the session in another 4 minutes. Hi everyone. Hi Sami. Hi Shripad. And if you were not able to hear because I wasn't speaking, I started the session and I said we'll go live in another 5 minutes. So that 5 minutes are over now. So we'll go live. Welcome you all once again. As you know, I'm Halima, and we have with us the entire study abroad team just to make sure that this webinar is successful and we answer all your questions. So let us know what we are going to cover. Let me tell you what we'll be covering today and about the financials. So all that you need to know about the financials, but before we proceed further, there are some quick reminders and instructions. Use the chat box to communicate with us if there is any question. Prepare to note down your questions and save it for Q&A session. And please make sure your questions are relevant to the topic we'll be discussing today. Next slide, please. All right, so this webinar is purely based for the financial questions that we come across. I'm sure we all might have experienced scenarios where the student backs out at the last moment because he wasn't expecting the amount that he would have to be paying. All right, so we will know that, with this, you will be knowing that what expectation you're supposed to set to the students, and to be, before doing that, what are the stuff that you should know and keep yourself mentally prepared to prepare your student in turn. All right, so we'll be discussing about the financial planning, cost of education and living, specific requirements, 11 must-have financial documents, brief from HDFC and Flywire, and at the end, we'll have a dedicated Q&A session. So we will have the representatives from HDFC as well as Flywire who will be giving us all the detailed updates about the financials as well. So Mr. Satish Chandra, I welcome you and over to you. Please share us all the information about this topic.
Hi everybody, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you Halima, and like Halima just described, this webinar is purely and entirely about the financials for study abroad. We'll be covering various topics here, including financial planning. This is for counselors to advise students how they can make the most of the finances that they can bring to themselves and for the funds that they already have. That's one thing that we're going to discuss. Second, for the most of the countries that we are majorly processing, we'll be covering those living expenses and education expenses. Then we'll come to the specific requirements of that particular different countries that need specific requirements. And I'll also cover the documents that are very important and primarily required for the study abroad visa purpose. And there will be a brief session from HDFC Bank, who are our partners for loans, and from Flywire, which is a payment gateway for most of the universities across the globe, who will be answering or who will be introducing Flywire to us to make our life more easy for payments and for students. And finally, as a very important session, that's the Q&A. Okay, to begin with, we'll see what is this financial planning. Now, this is the approximate, fees or living expenses put together, average cost of education for top countries that we are looking at for different countries. It's just an approximate rate, not the fixed rate, please note, because we are going to speak on it. So the approximate rate is what is covered because fees and living expenses keep changing from time to time. Okay, and these are some of the tips that I plan to share with everybody to make sure that students make the most of it. The first and the foremost thing is there is a lot of confusion and a lot of setbacks when it comes to finances when a student is planning to apply for study abroad. The first major critical thing that students don't do is they don't plan the finances, or they don't assess what is their requirement and what is required finally for them. So when you don't plan on your finances in advance, while you're planning to study or planning to go abroad, it becomes a major roadblock for your visa or for further process or for your living itself when you're reaching that country. So we advise students and counselors to make note of this point. During the counseling itself, we advise counselors to recommend students what is required as the living and funds that are totally required for the study. So if you don't plan this, then getting an offer or getting a admission is not worth, because unless your finances are in place, it doesn't help you move forward with the offer or the admit that is received from the university or the institution. So that is what is very important. And the students have to involve parents, make a budget, so that parents are able to outsource funds, look for different avenues for making funds available to the student at the right time is very, very important and critical. So that is one thing that the student and the counselor must encourage students to follow. Now, most of them, I know most of the students are from middle class or upper middle class families who will not have ready funds with them. Since that is the situation, education loan is what is advised, which is safe, which is also advised by embassies in terms of genuine funds. So we always recommend students to look into education loans as one of the options for financing your studies. Now, meanwhile, when the student is looking for options for admission, when they have already applied for courses, we always recommend them to look for accommodation options also, because accommodations are a volatile item because it gets closed faster. So accommodation is very critical because certain embassies require you to show them accommodation before you can get a visa. So that is a critical issue. So in that situation, accommodation also should be planned. If you look at the accommodation in advance, then it becomes affordable. When you run for it or search for it at the last minute, it becomes costly. So again, you're losing a lot of money in terms of looking for accommodation at a later date. And this is a very dicey point. Look for a part-time job. Students normally are advised to look for part-time jobs to help them have an edge on the expenses that they have, but not to make it full-time by not attending classes regularly. No, that's not the option. Part-time jobs are given to students to make sure that the student has adequate funds to aid their living during their time in studies. Now, there are a lot of universities and countries that offer student discounts and benefits in terms of, they have their own shopping malls, they have their own, places where student discounts are offered. So students can make use of these, discounts to make sure that they save money. And every country has something called a medical insurance that is taken from the student. Now, make use of this when you have any instance of any ailment or something that is there, because you need to first get registered at the local clinic or hospital according to the instructions that are given at the time of enrollment. So once you do that, health insurance is a very good, money saver for students actually. And I know everybody has a dream to travel abroad, to have their own transport, conveyance, and all that. But during your studies as a student, we are normally advising students to take the public transport, and wherever possible, you can get cycles which are free on foot inside the campus. All these helps students to save a lot of money. And like we have, Diwali sales, Christmas sales, and other sales, they also have, sales times abroad from different, market vendors. So buying during that time also minimizes a lot of expenses because you get a lot of discounts. And this is very important, the last one. You get credit cards and credit facilities very easily abroad because they want to, sell these things. Now, students get moved off or carried off because it's easily available. But if you don't spend and repay correctly, then your credit history gets hit and there is a bad track record. And this also affects for your post-study work permits, further, applications to a lot of other facilities in the country. So use credit cards very sparingly, carefully, and very smartly. And if you are availing any credit facilities, then use it wisely so that you don't get into a bad credit history and which can affect your long-term plans abroad. So that's how we recommend counselors to advise students to plan your finances. Again, we are coming to the most crucial part actually, maintenance of funds. Now I'll cover it country by country for the major countries that we're doing. Now, maintenance of funds for Australia is what I'm planning to start off with. Now, if you can look at the screen, you can see the figures that are shown. These are approximate figures that I'm showing. Undergraduate can range from 20,000 Australian dollars to $45,000. Postgraduate or master degrees can range from 22,000 Australian dollars to 50,000 Australian dollars. Living expenses is the maintenance funds that we call, which involves food, accommodation, travel, miscellaneous expenses, utilities, and other things. So this is for 1 year that Australian immigration has stipulated that any student coming to Australia for an undergraduate or a postgraduate course must show 25,404 Australian dollars as 1 year's living expenses. And they also ask you to add 2,000 Australian dollars as miscellaneous expenses that can cover your one-way trip or flight charges it may require. So that is how they ask you to show the funds. So I think you got a picture of how maintenance funds need to be shown for Australia. So living expenses plus tuition fees have to be shown. Okay. Now, when coming to the requirements, students must pay 1 year, 1 semester fees or 1 year tuition fees as directed on the offer letter. Now, like I said, you need to show adequate funds as required by the immigration, that is 24,505 plus the tuition fees. Now, there is one more thing that you need to understand is your offer letter will always contain your semester fee, which will include the tuition fee and the overseas health charges component. That is mandatory for Australia. Similarly, there are travel medical insurance that is mandatory for other countries. So in Australia, it is called the overseas health charges. So that is included in your first semester tuition fees. Now, there is another one more important factor where a lot of students are failing. The GT requirement, the genuine temporary entrant requirement, which is mandated by the Australian immigration. So that is very important. Now, GT requirements emphasize students to make a statement categorically stating that they will only come here for study, stay here for the study period and go back home, and they will have sufficient genuine funds to be shown during the study, and they will not become a public charge. Now, this is also done during the offer letter, before the offer letter. So GT requirements have to be satisfied for the student to go ahead with the offer or admission. As part of funds, you need to also show last 3 years ITRs, that is the income proof, and student must have 10 to 15 lakhs as annual income. That is what they're stipulating now, because they've become very strict with funds, because a lot of students are showing fake funds or fraudulent funds or temporary funds which are not really valid when they reach there. Now, Australia does not allow any mutual funds, shares, gold loans, loans against FDs, and non-RBI bank or NBFCs actually. Okay, so these are not allowed. And what is allowed is collateral-based, fully sanctioned education loans with no conditions, savings banks, fixed deposits up to 6 months old. So this is what they're looking at. And sponsors, why we say from immediate family members, it makes it safe, it makes it genuine. Father, mother, sisters, brothers, grandparents from either side, paternal or maternal, can sponsor the students. Now, third-party sponsors may be a question from your mind, but that's the last option to be seen, because the more the number of sponsors, the higher the number of verifications that happen. So it can delay your visas. So that is why we ask students to avoid more number of sponsors or external sponsors to make your visa more successful. Okay, if you have any questions, please note it down so that we can address it at the QA session. So I think you can see the next screen. Yes. Maintenance of funds for UK. Again, much simpler than Australia actually. Undergraduate fees is somewhere around £11,400 to £38,000 per annum. Masters, £9,000 to £30,000. Living expenses, there are two stages of living expenses to be shown here. One is £12,006 if you are inside London. Now, the UK immigration has stipulated something called the London boroughs. That means small counties that are inside London, which fall under the inside London. So if your university falls inside London, between these London boroughs, there are 32 boroughs actually, which are stipulated. You have to show them £12,006 for 1 year's living expenses. If it is outside London, that is probably in Sheffield, Hallam, Birmingham, Coventry, Manchester, and all these places. Outside London, you need to show them only £9,297 as living expenses for 1 year. Now, I have every place added 2,000 USD as an extra expense here, because to make sure that I have also seen as an experience in the last 1 or 2 years from our channel partners that we end up showing borderline funds actually. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind is there is a lot of fluctuation in the foreign exchange value that happen daily or hourly actually. So in case your funds are even less by a rupee one, then your visa goes for a toss. So please make sure you have adequate funds with little extra so that you're not losing anything. After all this hard work, if you lose for 1 rupee, then it is a disaster. So that is why I've mentioned everywhere that you need to maintain at least extra 2,000 US dollars to make safe that you don't ruin yourself by showing less amount. They'll simply say there is insufficient funds and reject it. So please make sure that you have adequate funds and a little extra to be shown as per the immigration requirements. Now for UK, you need to pay 1 year tuition fees or an initial deposit as directed on the offer. It can be 2,000 pounds, it can be 5,000 pounds, or it can be 50,000 pounds as directed by the university. Now we need to show adequate funds for 28 days. Now whatever is accepted is education loans. You don't have to wait for 28 days. Once the loan is sanctioned, you can immediately file the visa. If you are showing savings or fixed deposit, then you need to show it for 28 days old. And there are instances where credibility interviews were conducted, but right now most of the universities are bringing it out that they need to clear a credibility interview before they can release an admission letter. And only after the credibility interview is conducted, universities are asking you to pay the fees. So you need to also satisfy the conditional requirement. It can be academics, it can be the English language requirements, or it can be something else. So you need to satisfy these conditional requirements to obtain your caste letter. Caste letter is nothing but confirmation of acceptance for studies to make sure that there is a letter to confirm your admission to give you a chance to apply for the visa. And here also, all the countries require sponsors from immediate family members, like I mentioned earlier. And here, as part of your visa application, there is an immigration health surcharge to be paid at the time of visa application. And this is little costly affair where you will have to pay around 1 lakh and odd for a 1 year course. So that's a huge amount, but the student is safe in terms of health requirements. So that's what is required for UK. The next country that we are covering is Canada. So here, as we all know, recently Canada was in a lot of news for some political instability and a lot of differences happening between the two governments. The second major thing is Canada has, overall this requirements for immigration for international students, specifically the Indian students. Now there are a lot of changes happening in the Canadian immigration system. Like I said, tuition fees can range from $13,000 to $20,000, postgraduate from $17,000 to $25,000. Now, Canada has increased its living expenses from 10,000 Canadian dollars to 20,635 Canadian dollars. That's actually the double of the previous amount. And they have brought in certain regulations where institutes or universities or colleges who have a public-private partnership courses running will not be eligible for post-study work permit. The list is yet to be very clear actually, and what courses are going to be out of the post-study work permit is also expected. Now, living expenses should be shown as GIC. It's called the Guaranteed Investment Certificate, or in your terms, it can be called as blocked account, where you need to send the amount upfront to a Canadian bank, and then that is disbursed every month to the student once the visa comes in. Now they have brought in a new regulation. I think if anybody has experience in filing a Quebec student visa, there is a procedure called CAQ, where you need to get a provincial administration's approval before you can apply for a visa. The similar procedure is being brought to all the provinces in Canada. It's called the attestation. So that procedure is not in place yet, but the universities and institutions have been instructed to fall in place by March 31st. But if you still hold any offers until then, you cannot file the visa before March 31st, because if they file, the embassy has said that we will reject the application if it is not followed. So until March 31st, if somebody has got an offer, please hold it until March 31st, where you can apply later. And miscellaneous expenses, again, I have added 2,000 USD here to make sure there is sufficient funds from the students' end to make sure you don't get rejected. And if you're looking at the requirements, you need to pay 1 year tuition fee if you're going through the SDS scheme, or 1 semester fees is required if you're going on a non-SDS scheme. Like, you need to show the adequate funds, which I said, including living expenses and tuition fees if you're going to non-SDS. Otherwise, you end up paying the tuition fees fully and showing the balanced living expenses in the GIC. Satisfy conditional requirements, obtain GIC confirming your living expenses, obtain a letter of acceptance. Some colleges and universities give you a letter of acceptance at one shot. So that is the final letter that is used for the visa. Now, if you're going through the non-SDA scheme, then you need to show them, education loans, savings, fixed deposits, and all these ITRs and backup and ID proofs and all these. But if you're going through an SDA scheme, you need to show them with minimal documents that you need to pay 1 year fees and 1 year living expenses. And sponsors, again, must be father, mother, parents and grandparents. Now, Canada always advises students to apply for visa at least 3 months before the start date. So that is very important because we always look for the last moment to be applied 1 month before, or 20 days before, or 15 days before. Please note, applications are going to grow even more because of this moment they have stopped it until March 31st. A lot of applications will pile up. So please make sure that you apply at least 3 months before the start date. Okay, so we're going to US. Okay, so we are showing you maintenance funds of USA. Tuition fees, undergraduate $8,000 to $35,000 US, postgraduate $10,000 to $35,000 US. Living expenses, $13,000 US. I've given it as approximate rate because that particular living expenses particularly comes on the I-20 specifically. So it depends on the university to university. So here also I have added an expense of $2,000 USD to make sure you have adequate funds. Requirements again, pay 1 year tuition fees or 1 semester fee as directed on the offer. Why I'm talking about 1 year tuition fee or 1 year semester fee is to make sure that there is a problem in US process actually. The system itself is like that because once a student reaches the university, they jump off. They move to another university. So if you are able to get the student to pay 1 year tuition fees or 1 semester fees, probably the student might stick to your same school that you applied for a visa for quite some time too, so that your payout is not on risk. So that's one point. So that is why I have advised it. Otherwise, normally students pay fees when they reach there. But then again, there are certain universities or some universities who will ask you to pay an initial deposit in terms of $2,000, $500, $1,000 again as an I-20 deposit, which is adjusted to your tuition fees later on to release your I-20 so that you don't misuse the I-20s that are received. So that's one thing. And you need to satisfy the conditions before you get an I-20. Now, if you're planning to obtain an I-20 from USA, an I-20 is nothing but an admission letter from US university. It is called I-20 because the document is numbered or designated as that number. It's called I-20. Now, you need to show an X amount of funds only in savings account or fixed deposits, not in terms of loan, not in terms of other kinds of funds. You need to show them in savings account that you have the required X amount of dollars in your account to obtain an I-20. So that normally can be done. A lot of students arrange for it. Some of them try to deposit the amount for 1 day, take a statement, and then you can probably send it to them. So you can even show 1 day funds for that purpose, which makes it much genuine. And if you are sponsored or self-funded, then you should show them an affidavit of support or parental consent to make sure that you are being adequately supported by your parents to study abroad. Now, there is a small change with the US fees also. USD 185 is your visa application fee, and service fees has been increased to $350. I think most of them know this, but if you're not aware, please note this. Now, here also, what is allowed is collateral-based, fully funded education loans, savings, fixed deposits. For visa, you can always show them mutual funds, shares, properties, assets. All these things are possible for US. And visa appointments are hugely in demand. Hence, early application and process arranging for funds will help you get visas on time. Otherwise, you'll end up deferring the admission to a next intake, which can be a loss of 4 to 6 months actually. So that's what is US about. New Zealand, as everybody knows, a very clean country, very strict with visas and admissions. Undergraduate and bachelor's degree can cost you around $20,000 to $25,000 New Zealand dollars. Postgraduate master's degrees can range from $19,000 to 29,000 New Zealand dollars. And living expense has been increased recently from 15 to 20,000 New Zealand dollars, with again an additional of 20,000 USDs to be shown. Now, New Zealand is very strict in terms of funds. They verify it very detailedly, especially if there is work experience or if there are other kinds of funds being trying to show. Now, New Zealand has two kinds of ways that you can show the living expenses. One is called the FTS scheme, or you can show the account in terms of education loan or savings or anything like that. In FTS scheme, it just works like the GIC, where you send your amount to an ANZ bank in New Zealand, which is called the fund transfer scheme or a blocked account. Now, here you either pay a one-year tuition fees or a semester fees. You satisfy conditional requirements. Again, just like Australia and US, if you are funded, then you need to show them affidavit of support and parental consent. And there is a strict visa interview. So please note, whatever is written on your SOP becomes your question paper, and the embassy looks for fresh students without much gap. And whatever is allowed as funds is collateral-based security fund, like education loans. Saving banks and fixed deposit must be 6 months old, because you need to maintain those funds. Again, they're very particular about who sponsors within the family is very important. And again, visa appointments are little in demand. Hence, wherever possible, we always advise early application. That's why. Ireland, undergraduate degree can cost you from 10,000 euros to 30,000 euros. Postgraduate can cost you from 10,000 to 35,000 euros, depending on the course and university. Now, living expenses is increased 10,000 euros, and an additional 2,000 are added for safety purpose. Now, this has to be shown in the similar ways, either in the savings or fixed deposits, or there is similar to the GIC and the FTS in New Zealand and Canada. You have something called Euro bonds here, where you can park your funds in advance, which makes it much safer for students to get visas. Here you need to pay one-year tuition fees and satisfy the conditions. You have an option whether you can show it in a education loan, savings, or fixed deposits, or use the Euro bonds to block the account and then get it dispersed. Again, the documents are almost similar, like parental consent and affidavit of support. Here also travel medical insurance is required. Sponsors, again, they demand the same thing. Again, here, visa process takes 4 to 6 weeks. Hence, we always ask students to apply earlier so that visa comes on time. Europe, Germany. So tuition fees here is undergraduate free in public universities. Postgraduate master degrees free again. The undergraduate courses in Germany are basically taught in German language. So most of the students may not look at bachelor degrees, but if the student has B2 level of German language, takes the test as exams, gets the APS done, writes the student collect entrance exams, gets into foundation program, then progresses, can be successful. Very less programs have English taught programs. Master degrees, you have plenty of programs which are English taught, and students can have a direct admission, which is also taught free in public universities. Most of the technical programs in public universities are taught free. Now, even for technical courses in public universities, there is a state called Baden-Württemberg at the southern part of Germany. The capital is Stuttgart, which charges 3,000 euros per year. Right now, they have started from the 2 to 3 years. They have started charging tuition fees. All the other states are free. Now, private universities also have courses which are a little bit in demand, but they are not technical courses. They can be management, IT related, or computer based courses, and can range from 8,500 euros to 30,000 euros, depending on the course and university. Now, here also, Germany has something called a blocked account, where you need to send 11,208 euros upfront in your German account in your name, and then apply for visa. So again, when you're looking at Germany, for the blocked account, we normally use a German bank. Just like in Canada, we use the Canadian bank because it makes it easier for operations. But again, you have an option where Kotak Mahindra and ICIs are also authorized to open a blocked account. But then it does be a double stage process, so we don't normally encourage. And paying one-year tuition fees as directed on the offer. you need to pay 1 year tuition fees or 1 semester tuition fees. You'll have to pay an enrollment fee and a registration fee depending on the university. And because normally most of the universities, public universities, give you free education, they charge you something called a semester fee from 50 euros to 500 euros to maintain certain records and accounts for the students themselves. So once you do this, you get a visa letter, and blocked account is open, like I said. The semester fees can be shown as saving funds, education loan also. Now, here also they normally look for parents. Now, visa appointments are in huge demand in Germany because there are plenty of students. There is a 43% increase in the number of applications that have gone up for people who are applying. So visa points are in demand. So we always encourage people to apply early. And there is one more process called the APS certification process, which needs to be done much in advance before you go for the visa. Now, what happens is, if you don't have the APS certificate, you're not allowed to file the visa. Now, this application itself for evaluation takes 4 to 6 weeks. So we advise students, even when you're planning to study in Germany, please apply for APS because it's a lifetime validity document which can be used for visa. So that also takes a lot of time. Now, here for Europe, normally we advise students to have a travel medical insurance for 30,000 euros or 50,000 United States dollars to be taken for 1 year's travel medical insurance to suffice for visa purposes. Moving on to Europe is France. Tuition fees, undergraduate bachelor degree in public universities might cost from 2,770 euros to 4,000 euros sometimes. Postgraduate masters, again 3,770 to 4,000 to 5,000 euros. And sometimes they offer you full free as scholarships also. Grand écoles from 8,000 to 30,000. It's very difficult to get into public universities in France because they mostly cater to the they cater to mostly the local population, and international students are given very less seats in terms of public universities. Living expenses 10,200 euros per year, and an additional miscellaneous expense of 2,000 is also always advised. Now, when it comes to financial requirements, here you need to pay 1 year tuition fee upfront because it's safer to pay 1 year tuition fees upfront for Europe because it helps you make your visa process easier and visa approval easier. You'll have to pay an enrollment or registration fee deposit depending on the university. It can cost from 100 euros to 500 euros sometimes, and satisfy the offer letter conditions. If sponsored, again they'll ask you for parental consent. Now, if you are looking for France, then it's a two-step process where you need to have an academic interview cleared from Campus France, which will cost you around 18,000 rupees as the application fee, and obtain an NOC before you file a visa with the VFS, which goes with the actual documents for your visa process. Collateral, again, education loans, savings, and fixed deposit is what is accepted, which is 3 months old. Sponsors must be immediate family members. Again, this is a common factor for all the countries actually. Again, visa appointments are in demand, hence we always advise early application. Maintenance of funds for Europe. This is generally for most of the countries that we are covering for Europe. It can be Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Portugal, Spain, Poland, Luxembourg, all these countries. Bachelors can range from 6,000 to 15,000 euros, masters 3,000 to 23,000 euros, depending on the university and the course. Now, approximately 12,000 euros is what they look forward to in the student's account. Most of the countries ask the funds to be shown in student's account rather than parents or other people. So miscellaneous, again, I've added $2,000 here. Pay 1 year tuition fees. This is the rest of Europe I'm talking about. You might have entrance exams sometimes. You will have to pay an enrollment fee and a registration fee. Funds, again, same education loans, savings, and fixed deposits, 3 months old. Same immediate family member sponsorships are required. Visa appointments are too much in demand for countries like Poland, Portugal, and other places. So you need to apply well in advance. And the same kind of travel medical insurance is asked by most of the European countries for 30,000 euros or 50,000 USD to be taken for 1 year's travel medical insurance for visa. I thought I will also cover scholarships because a lot of people ask what kind of scholarships are available. Now, the types of scholarships that are available are need-based scholarships, privately funded scholarships, merit-based scholarships, government-funded scholarships, department scholarships, early bird scholarships, fee discounts, and bonuses. Now, need-based scholarships are certain scholarships offered by big universities for international students based on their economic situation. So, universities like Harvard, um, Cornell, all these big Ivy League universities give you need-based scholarship based on the student's economic condition. You need to prove that you are economically weak so that they can give you need-based scholarships. Privately funded scholarships, again sponsored by third-party people, can be the SNBO scholarship, the Tata scholarships, a lot of other scholarships funded by private bodies or trusts can also be availed by students. Merit scholarship are purely university-based scholarship which are given to students based on their academic achievements. So those scholarships are done during the application itself. So in case you are meritoriously eligible for scholarship, then they provide you with that. Again, government-funded scholarships are there for some of the students, where certain governments fund the students with different kinds of scholarship to enable international students to avail of the discounts. Again, certain departments have so much funds that they can also allow or allot scholarship for students from their departments. Now, early bird scholarships and fee discounts are basically given to students who pay, fees between a certain date. You pay early, you pay full amount, you pay certain amount, then you get a favor or a fee discount of certain parts. So these kind of options are always there for students based on their eligibility. The people have to look for that. We look at some specific requirements that you need to remember in terms of going for visas or looking for funds. There is a process called Apostle, which needs to be as part of the application and visa process for most of the European countries. This is a process where you legalize or authenticate your education documents with the Indian government and then send it for approval or for admissions to European universities. Now, why this is done is because India is part of the Hague Convention, which is a signatory of 186 countries. So we are supposed to follow this rule. And all the countries in Europe have two intakes, actually, winter and summer. But please note, Norway and Finland have only one intake in a year, and they close almost 8 months before the start date. So you need to track that. There are no alternatives to funds requirement other than what is specified, because you cannot come back to us asking, can we show this? Can we do this? No, that is not allowed with the embassy. So whatever is specified as requirements must be shown by the students for visa approvals. And most of the European countries also require medical certificates and police clearance certificate. This is the additional information that I'm planning to give. Blocked account transfers to be done only from the student account. No refunds will be issued in case of visa rejection due to fraudulent documents. Any visa refusal, if it is genuine, will be refunded. Now, normally refunds take 90 days. Now, there is a procedure for refund. In case there is a the universities or the embassies track that the students' documents are fraudulent, you will not get a single rupee back, unless otherwise your fees will be refunded. Now, any embassy fees, application fees, or anything paid to the governments are not refundable. I'm just showing you a few critical documents that needs to be part of. Not all needs to be kept for all the countries. These are mandatory documents which are required by different countries. Bank statements, which have to be shown as proof of funds, must be authenticated by the bank manager with a stamp and signature. There must be a covering letter for the bank statement stating what are the amount of funds and how old the account is. Now, FD receipts also need to have a covering letter stating what is the maturity date and it can be liquidated at any point of time. If the student has availed any government scholarship or any other scholarship, then that also needs to be provided to the embassy. If the student is going for a loan, then it should be a pure education sanction, and there should be a fully sanctioned loan letter with clear account details and the collaterals issued for that. If the account is getting an amount from the loan which is disbursed after sanction, then you need to also show them the loan disbursement letter, if applicable. Anyway, I said every sponsorship must be accompanied by an affidavit of sponsorship or support. Now, certain countries like Australia and New Zealand also asks you to provide a property valuation report to make sure that it is a genuine fund and the backup documents are genuine. Now, US and Europe also might ask you for the chartered accountant certificate to make sure your net worth from the assets that you have, ITRs for the last 3 years. Now, if you're employed, then the scope of the visa process changes. Then the verification process happens in terms of employment. You need to, give them 3 months pay slip, employment proof, and ID proof, etc., to make sure that it's a genuine employment. Just a letter of work experience will not suffice as documents for work experience if employed or previously employed. You need to produce these documents. I would like to introduce one more document as part of the process for Edu Milestones. If you are sending us a profile, before we can start the process, we need this confirmation letter to be received from the student and the channel to make sure that you've understood that these are the requirements that need to be processed by the student. Now, if you don't understand this, why we brought in this is because there is a major reason. We had a lot of dropouts of students just because of funds. Now, we don't want that to be happening every time. It was an experience, so we thought we'll make sure that this information is given well in advance so that channels are well informed and the student is also well informed, including the parent. So please make sure that all the files which come to us for applications must accompany this document, otherwise we will not process it. So it has to be signed by the student and the channel. So to make sure that you have understood and you know the requirements. This will be sent to you by your respective team contacts at the time of application process. So it's time that we, are planning to invite HDFC and Flywire to give you a brief on the loan process and the gateway process. So as Halima will start summarizing it, we will invite the banks to come online. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that information, Mr. Satish. That was really interesting. And I'm sure most of our channel partners had these questions, which was pending for a long time to be answered. So we have, I would request the representatives to come online from HDFC. Just be online while we have the representatives from HDFC to join. We have a lot of Mr. Rajendra will be joining, who is the cluster manager. So stay tuned. Hi Rajendra, this is Halima here. How are you?
Hey, hi Halima. Thanks. I'm doing well, and thanks for inviting HDFC Kerala, and thanks for Mr. Satish for this especially. So we are into HDFC Kerala dedicated education loans from very long time, and we process education loan for almost all the countries, especially specialized in US segment, and we can process 100% education loan. So I'm okay to take Q&A if in case anything is required. But basically, I would like to tell you that we being a Kerala can understand this education loan portfolio than any bank per se, so that we are processing 100% education loan without any margin. So that why I'm telling margin is, so other banks, there will be always a margin kind of, I think 25-30% sponsored by the student, and remaining will be the bank sponsor as an education loan. Whereas we process 100%, which not only the tuition, but also inclusive of the living cost, traveling expenses like airfare, laptop, maybe study books or clothes and all he can purchase. So everything will be covered, including the miscellaneous.
All right.
Yeah,
please go ahead.
Yeah, so in terms of bifurcation, like US, we always makes a difference because a large chunk of students still believe in US in the employability sake and future job prospects. So we do have in Kerala, we do business of 100% YOY growth every year. In that, 75% only from US market. So why I'm telling specifically US is we have a special dedicated product for US specially than the rest of the world, the countries. So US, whereas Ivy League colleges, we can stretch till 60 to 75 lakhs without collateral as well. And for other countries, 20-30% lakhs without collateral we can stretch, which is not encouraged because if collateral backed, as Mr. Satish is explaining his presentation, that it should be education loan with collateral security backed. It's always better to be backed with collateral, so that that student will get benefit of not only the entire cost of studies, but also the rate of interest front. You will get a 2% lesser than unsecured exposure. So that's where it is. Anything else, Halima?
Yes, Rajendra, I do have questions coming from the team here, I mean,
Yeah,
the channel
please.
partners here. So I will start taking the questions. Request all the channel partners, the clients, to start posting your questions here so that I can keep it up, and Rajendra will address all those questions for you. Uh, we have one question from Joe Alphonse, which is, do we have to maintain 1 year tuition fees also for 6 months before visa filing, or living expenses alone? So
So
not sure.
that is something which you're asking about the visa process. So I am here to address
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
education
yeah.
loan.
Just a
Education
moment.
loan for
Yeah, we'll
education.
get the relevant ones for you. Okay, so I do have another question from one of our clients. Who all can be the sponsors? Satish sir, if you can just join the session just to make sure that we can give the relevant questions to Mr. Rajendra. One of the clients question, if who all can sponsor in the family. If you can just take that question up, we'll proceed further then.
Yeah, yeah.
It must be father, mother, brothers, sisters, and grandparents,
Spouse.
both sides.
So
Okay,
here I can add one more point. Here I will add one more point. Students wants to make a secured loan portfolio to get
Mhm,
the benefit of rate of interest and higher loan amount and all this.
mhm.
Whereas, let's say student doesn't have the collateral. I mean, parents doesn't have the collateral. So we do have the option where the immediate blood relative like maternal uncle, paternal uncle, or cousins property can also be considered. Grandparents and all. Yeah.
Okay. Another one from Muzammil we have, does loan amount directly goes to the university?
See, being HDFC Kerala being an educational loan lender of Indian, so we disburse in INR. There is always a, I mean, mediator. Like we do have a in-house vendors like 3, 4 forex vendors. Always money will go in INR to the student parents account as just a platform. From there, the same day or very next day, we do wire transfer through our forex vendors, so that we make sure that money is going to a proper way to the tuition fees payment, or whatever the living expenses will be loaded to the forex card, which we give to the students complimentary free of cost, which is a multi-currency card. There also we can load. And when students travel to a particular country, he definitely going to open an local account there. He wants to transfer some amount there, that also we can do through our channels, like our partners, like the forex vendors.
All right, that's a good information, Rajendra. We have a lot of questions coming in now. So let me just take that one by one. Srinivas wants to know, when you mention 100% funds, only tuition fee or other expenses as well?
I just mentioned earlier that it's not only the tuition, but also 2 years ka tuition along with the 2 years living expenses, his airfare, traveling tickets, as well as laptop. So you want to purchase some clothes and all that can also be included under miscellaneous. So we can give 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is well you answered. We have from Gunishka. Do you need collateral for the loan?
Not mandatorily. I just said, like collateral is not mandatory, but
But good
if
to have.
collateral, if that gives, that will always give a, I mean, flexible to get a better rate of interest, which is a very challengeable, right? It will be always around 1.5 to 2% ka difference. Generally, unsecured loan exposure, what we offer for US segment is 11.75 to 12, 11.95 somewhere, whereas
Mhm.
secured will be 10 to 10.25, which will be almost around 1.5, 1.75% differentiation is a huge savings for the parents and in terms of the interest.
Okay.
Right. So that's very little different.
Mhm.
And
Right.
the cap for unsecured for rest of the world like UK, Canada will be 20, 30 lakhs to 40 lakhs max. Based
Mhm.
on the case to case basis, we can fund unsecured. Whereas for US unsecured will be 60, 70 lakhs also we can stretch. Some of the Ivy League colleges cost around 1 crore, 1.2 crores also for masters, which will be always backed by collateral.
Okay, that's really going to be helpful, I'm sure, for students.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
um, I'm sure, Gunishka, that answered your question. There is one question from Vijay who wants to know, why do you think we should choose HDFC? What is
Yeah.
the
That's a very good question. I
That's a
appreciate
good
it.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I can simplify the statement saying that one job is done by a normal person and a specialized person. There is always a quality difference. See, now I'm taking a loan from X lender is one part. This is my lot of research, and I'm going for X bank. But my relationship with the bank will be for the long term of 7, 10 years or maximum 14 years when my repay back, right? So a lot of service also required during this period. One. Secondly, the rate of interest is definitely compared to other banks. We are better, and we are providing 100% without any margin kind of a thing. And moreover, the other banks will require the property and the party, I mean student and parents should be in particular location, whereas we have a multi-city diversity, whereas student is working here, he wants to travel abroad, and parents are working in Delhi, so they don't need to come down. Even we can process the application from Bangalore itself, we can disburse without any physical contact. And the property can be, let's say, on Chennai, parents are in Delhi, student is in here in Bangalore. So in that way, we can do the process here. That's why multi-city co-borrowers, we accept it. This is not there in other banks.
So you mean to say that the process of getting it approved is quite easier than the other?
Far more easier. No need to come down, step into any branch or any bank or anywhere. It will be done digitally, online, everything.
Okay,
even if parents are different places.
For working parents, though, I guess.
Yeah. See, Bangalore is a IT hub city. It was migrated from all over the states, right? So student is working here, parents will be somewhere else, and property can be anywhere else. So that's where the bank will ask them to come down there to process the loan. So whereas we can do that without, I mean, the parents don't need to come. Student can apply online here in Bangalore. We can process and disburse, and that to 100% without any margin.
That's wonderful. I'll pick up some more questions. We have one from Sri Lakshmi. What is the main checklist to process loan collateral?
Checklist is basic. I can say collateral like a mother deed, sale deed. There is always a checklist, but I always suggest to my clients always is whatever. See, when I say my property papers means I'll keep it in a locker with a bulk, with a file folder. So whatever you feel that is a property paper, you can give in the first instance, so that the legal opinion will come very fast, very soon, and the decision of the case will be taken very fast. If I make a checklist, I need only sale deed, khata, etc. Make a 5 or 6 documents, which my lawyer will verify, and he'll again make some query list of 5, 6 documents, which we send it to the student. He need to work and send back. It will save a lot of time.
All right. We have one from Dhara Patel as well, Rajendra, where she wants to know: do you give loan for Canada students, full fees plus GIC?
Absolutely. GIC, including GIC, tuition, including the living expenses, traveling costs, all can be included.
Will there be any additional terms and conditions
Nothing.
for GIC?
Nothing. That will be included in the loan amount. Let's say loan amount is 30 lakhs, which is included of GIC amount, can be processed and sanctioned.
Okay. We have another question from Clara, similar to the same question. For GIC, how do we open the Canada bank account?
Canadian bank account, we do have our own channel we can open. We can help the students to get it open, but still, if student is opening by his own outside, we can get it disbursed to that particular account through our forex vendors.
All right. So just a moment. I'm just trying to get some more questions. What could be the loan processing time? This would be something which is important. What could be the loan processing time?
Yeah. So it is also a major difference, with other banks, and our TAT will be maximum 2 to 3 days. If unsecured loan, it's all the documents in one place at one go. It won't take much time. It's a digitally approved cycle which we have following, which will be happen maximum 2 to 3 days. For secured loans, also maximum 1 week, not much.
Okay. I'll just take up 2 or 3 more questions to, go now. Does loan amount sanction depends on country instructions issued for purpose of study or living expenses?
No, see, we follow the offer letter from the student. The student has an offer letter. Since we are education loan, we know that which university costs how much and all. We have a database, and also the offer letter of the student. Based on that, we calculate the cost of education. Not only the tuition, living separate. We have a breakup in our system. We have a specialized team for cost of education calculation team. Based on the offer letter or I-20 provided by the student, we break up all the tuition, living, traveling, miscellaneous, all added, and we can make it, one cost of education which will be approved by our credit team.
Okay. This is one repeated question I have from other channel partners, multiple people. What if the parents are not working or jobless? What do you recommend in that scenario? And no collateral. Well.
We can do that still. See, it's not only it's all, when we talk about education, it's completely student driven product, what we believe, because student has to repay back, not parents. Student has to complete his studies. We want student has to complete his studies. He got the job and he'll get the job and he'll repay back. So really student is very good in going to the US and it's a very good master's. He has a very good GRE background and all this, and going to a top university. Even if students' parents are farmers also, we have funded a lot of students. So without collateral as well. And we do have a provision there. If the collateral property is not there, we can just to mitigate the risk, little bit risk from bank perspective, we can try from 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs small FD to process for 50-60 lakhs loan as well.
Okay, and it can be for undergraduate, postgraduates, or diploma program.
I'm talking about only post graduation, PG, master's courses. Undergrad always it should be a collateral backed, and it should be, there is, because the loan amount is always a higher side.
Right. Yeah. So for undergraduate, there has to be a collateral. For postgraduate, collateral is not mandatory.
Not mandatory. That is always, suggestible to get the collateral.
Right. Sure. So that's it, Rajendra. So thank you so much for giving your time. I guess one more question that everyone is stressing on: what could be the rate of interest?
So general product, what I can say is the secured loan is always 10 to 10.5 or 10.75 max. Unsecured will be 11 to 11.75.
Okay.
At the present, what we are trend following it, it's entirely depending on again RBI guidelines and all. If repo rate decreases, it will change accordingly.
Okay. One second. Prakash has a complaint. Do you finance for Germany and Italy where education is free? Loan for blocked amount and remaining costs?
Yes, we have funded. We are funding from the beginning. German account, we know the blocked account and all this, and Canadian GIC. We are funding if we can fund, no issues. Whereas we understand that Germany, there will be a negligible tuition fees or nil tuition fees, and living cost is very high than other countries. Yes, we do fund.
All right. Thank you so much, Rajendra, for your time. So, Satish sir, if we can just go ahead now with Flywire for, to take the...
Thank you, Mr. Rajendra. Thank you so much for...
Thank you, Mr. Satish. Thanks for invite. Can I log off?
Some more like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I log off or you want me to continue the call?
You can log out, sir. You can log out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Vishnu, if you can just come online, we would want you to highlight a little more about about Flywire. I'm sure most of the people are not aware about how it works and how it's going to be helpful for us. So if you can just brief us about that. By the way, I'm Halima and welcome you here.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Sadish, and hi. I didn't get your name, Halima.
Halima.
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
Halima.
Okay. So anyhow, thank you so much for the invite, and yep. So I'll just give a brief idea about how Flywire works, and so most of the counselors who are working in this study abroad field might have heard about Flywire at least once in their lifetime, because Flywire is a US-based fintech company, and we have certain verticals like healthcare is there, visa is there, and education is there. So this platform comes under the education payments. Okay. So what we do is we stand in between student and the institution to make the payments hassle-free, right? Okay. So we are based out in Boston. Our headquarters is in Boston, and we have a network of around 3,500 plus institutions across the globe, mainly in US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and European countries. Okay, and Singapore as well. So how it works is like, suppose if you are making a payment from India, so we have a platform where when the student log into that platform, we will be asking certain details of the payment, like the basic details, like who is making the payment, how much is the amount you wish to pay, from which country you're making the payment, what is the preferred payment method, and if not student, are you paying from any other close relatives account. So all this kind of details we will ask. Okay. So once you fill in all these details, you'll be able to create a payment instruction. Okay. Based on the information that we are filling in, we will be able to create a payment instruction. And this payment instruction clearly contains all the details required for the fund transfer. Okay. Suppose if the student is opting a payment method of normal bank transfer. Okay, RTGS or NEFT are the common methods of bank transfers in India. So if they are opting for normal bank transfer option, then finally we will get the instruction where the beneficiary account details, the total amount that you want to pay, the conversion rate, the tracking reference number, and all the details regarding the payment will be explained in that payment instruction. So once that instruction is generated, you have an option to visit a bank and do an RTGS or NEFT. Or else, if you don't wish to visit a bank, if you have a mobile application or the online banking option available with your bank, you can just simply add this beneficiary into your bank account and you can make the fund transfer online. The only requirement is that the payment method should be either RTGS or NEFT. Okay, you can do it as online or offline, it's up to you, right? Am I clear till this point?
I hope so. If all of you can just reply, if you're able to follow, if there is something that you would want Vishnu to repeat.
Yeah, so far I have explained only if we are opting for a bank transfer as the payment option.
Mm-hmm. Okay, they responded, they're able to understand, they're following you, Vishnu.
Yeah,
please go ahead.
right. Okay, thank you. So now, secondly, in case if the student wishes to make the payment through a debit or a credit card, okay. So in that case, we have another option: master debit or credit, Visa debit or credit, diner's card option, and all those payments will be listed in our portal. So if they are opting for that payment, then you don't need to create a payment instruction. What happens is that when we input all the details required for the payment, finally they will ask for the credentials of the card number, the CVV, and all those details, your PIN number, everything will be asked, and you can complete the payment right over there. Okay, so that's the second type of payment method, through cards. Now finally we have another payment option called, if you wish to pay in other currency, we can do it in that way as well. So suppose if we are making a payment from India, the most available payment method in the Flywire portal will be paid via USD. Okay, so if you are opting for USD, what happens is that
Vishnu, we're not able to hear
the
you.
amount, suppose if you are making a payment to UK, but the all right, just give me a moment. Is it audible now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so the third payment method is you can pay it in any other currency. That means any other currency other than the currency which is displayed over there. Suppose if we wish to make a payment to UK, the local currency will be GBP, but through Flywire you might have the option to pay it in USD only. Okay, so if you are opting for USD payment option, then first of all, we will do the conversion of that GBP into USD, and the instruction will be created with the foreign bank account details of Flywire in US. Okay, so what you need to do here is, once you create the payment instruction, with that payment instruction, you can visit a bank or a foreign exchange and ask them to transfer this amount to the Flywire's account in US. Okay. So once that payment is received at Flywire's end, what we will do is we will verify that payment, and we will settle it with the university within 2 business
Your voice is gone again.
days upon
Vishnu,
receiving the money.
You just gotta probably repeat from a GBP converted to USD in the name of Flywire account. Post that.
Okay. So GBP, if it is GBP, it is converted into USD. Suppose, let's say for example, let's take if it is 500 or a 5000 GBP. Okay. So when we click for USD as the payment option, the GBP is converted into USD, and let's say example, it is somewhere around 3800 USD. Sorry, if it is 5000 GBP, it will be more than that. So let's take it as a 6500 USD. Okay. So your payment instruction will be in 6500 USD. You have to take that instruction, visit a bank or a forex broker, and ask them to do a SWIFT transfer to the US account of Flyware, because in that Flyware Payments Corporation Citibank account in US will be provided over there. So you need to do a SWIFT transfer. Okay. So these are the three type of payment methods available.
The voice is gone again. I guess there's some
in
internet.
Flyware, but being right. No, I stopped when my video was paused over there. So I'll repeat it again. So these are the three payment methods available. So but personally, I recommend you to go ahead with the INR payment option. That means bank transfer in Indian rupees. Because if you are initiating a payment in bank transfer in Indian rupees, Flyware will have the track of that payment from the moment it gets released from the student's account until it gets delivered to the destination, right? Whichever be the university. So if you are doing it via an FX or bank, what happens is that Flyware will have the track of that fund only once it is received in Flyware's end. Okay, that means in our US account. So only after that we will have the track of the fund. So and also if you are doing the payment in INR, you can save a lot of bank charges and all, and we don't charge any additional amount. Suppose if you want to transfer 5000 GBP, you have to mention only 5000 GBP in the column where the amount is asked. You don't need to put another 20 pounds or $20 additional, thinking that some transaction charges might affect the total amount. So if you want to get transfer 5000 GBP, just mention 5000 itself, because our conversion rates and everything will be based on and include all the charges incurred for the transaction, unless it is greater than 7 lakhs, because all of you are aware about if the amount is exceeding 7 lakhs, as per RBI guidelines, we have to pay an additional 5% of TCS. So that will be that's the only additional cost if you need to pay after the amount that is appeared on the Flyware's payment instruction. So
Okay.
yep. So that's it from the payment methods. Regarding the payment methods from my end. So if you have any questions, you can shoot it right now.
All right. I'm just, checking the questions from the channel partners. I guess it was very crystal clear, Vishnu. That was self-explanatory. Definitely, you explained it really well. So there are no such questions as well. If there is anything, we'll definitely get in touch with you personally. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing the information.
Thank you, Halim, and thank you, Satish.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Satish sir, before we could wrap up, we are already running late on the scheduled time. So I will just probably take up some quick questions if the channel partners, if you all have. Okay, I do have a lot of questions, so I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. Satish sir, there is a question from one of the channels who wants to know, is the tuition fee refundable, and what are the conditions?
Tuition fee is refundable if the visa is rejected, but you enroll for a course, you get admission. When for some other reason you say you don't want to continue, you might not get the fees back, because the university is losing that money because of you, of a student. But yes, on exception conditions, if there are medical reasons that the student cannot travel, then in that case there may be tuition refund, but you can only defer it but not get a refund.
Okay, so unless there is a valid reason, the refund is not possible.
It must be an exceptional situation.
Okay, will that be a full refund or a partial one? Will there be any deductions? Okay, that's good. So is the application fee refundable?
No. No embassy fees, no application fees, no enrollment fees are refundable. It's all non-refundable.
All right. We have another question from Vishal here, who wants to know, if I choose not to go ahead, what happens to my loan?
No, that is better asked by the bank people, because once you don't use your loan, the loan has a validity by which time you need to use it. Otherwise, it goes void and you might have to pay penalty.
Okay. We have a few more questions coming up here. Yes, we do have a question. Which can we show gold or agriculture land as assets?
No, agricultural income is not accepted normally. But yes, if there is a parent who is a farmer who has no other source of income except farm, then he has to get a document of the produce that they are doing in the farm from the Tahsildar office or from the Mandal Revenue Officer with proper receipts of sales that they have done to show proper income.
Okay, we have another question for regarding the scholarships. Actually, can we get 100% scholarship and 100% loan?
Scholarship is different, loan is different. Loan is given by a entity which is outside the education sector. They are a financial institution who gives loan based on your credentials and credit history and all that. Scholarship is purely based on the educational institution that is trying to accept you. And there can be third-party institutions that can give you scholarships based on your merits and the eligibility and exams that you clear, whatever is stipulated by them actually.
Okay, we have one question from Anjana. What is secured and unsecured loan?
Unsecured loan is nothing but non-collateral loans, and secured loans are collateral loans.
Okay, that like Rajendra explained. So Rishi wants to know when students needs to repay the loan.
That again depends on how the parents and the student negotiates with the bank for the terms and conditions. Normally, on a standard note, it is like either at the end of the course when they finish it, or when they qualify, or when they get into a job.
All right.
But the interest payments start as soon as the loan is disbursed.
Okay, great. So another question: do we have to maintain 1 year tuition fees also for 6 months before visa filing or living expenses alone?
Now, there are two kinds of ways that you need to show. One is either you pay 1 year tuition fees upfront, so you don't have to show any tuition fees anymore, only living expenses. But if you pay only partial fees, then you need to show the partial fees and living expenses for 1 year.
Okay. I request everyone to please put across questions only relevant to the subject today, so that we can answer those questions for you. The rest we can connect individually with you, or you can connect with the business, with the support representatives. They will be able to help you with that. Anything related to finance, I'll definitely take it up now. So please post your questions. There's one question from Rajesh. I'm not sure if this would go to the bank actually. Can you please explain more about property evaluation report or requirement for Australia?
Now, property evaluation reports have to be from a person who does the property evaluation. From the civil engineer's office actually, they do a property evaluation. That means they look at the property's market value today and assess and give you a price that today at this date the property is of this value, and that is endorsed by the chartered accountant when they give you a net worth certificate. And for Australia, this is necessary.
Right. Based on the question, I would assume, Satish sir, that people did have a lot of questions on this subject. So good that we're conducting this today. So there are more questions coming in. We have one more question from Joseph Michael. Can we have more than one sponsor?
You can have more than one sponsor. The only difficulty is that your verification takes a lot of time when there are multiple sponsors. Mm-hmm. So that is why we advise to minimize the number of sponsors.
Okay. How much time does it generally take to process the loan, given that correct and valid documentation is furnished by the student, by Krupa Sagar?
It can take from 7 days to 3 months.
Okay. Can we get the rate of interest for different countries?
No, you need to talk to the bank. This is not about the country. It's about the number of banks and how you negotiate for what kind of loan, what amount, and what is your collateral that you're producing. It doesn't depend on the country. It depends on the bank's amount of loan that you want to ask for.
Okay. What happens when the student doesn't repay the loan?
They either seize your collateral, or you may end up paying for it at the court, or you may become a defaulter where you will not get any further loans in life.
All right, so that's really going to be risky. So I'm sure you can make sure you inform your student about the drawbacks that may have if that happens. Kadambari has a question. Do you give ticketing or any other expense incurred by parents if they want to accompany student in the first year?
That is not included in the student loan. That has to be borne by the parent. This is purely a student-based funding that is done. So parent also cannot jump onto that bandwagon and ask money for that also, which is not going to be given.
Okay. And what are the main requirements or eligibility? Okay, the same question we have. What are the main requirements or eligibility to getting a loan from your end?
It's not that we are giving, it's a bank. So banks will ask you for good academic credentials. Some of the banks, if you are looking for non-collateral loans, might want you to give them GRE scores, good academics above 80%, good IELTS scores, and a good credit history from your co-borrower. So then probably you might get a collateral-free loan. And this is a standard requirement for all the banks that they're asking. It should, at least you should be able to cover 80% of the loan value as collaterals.
Okay, there is one, there are a lot of people asking the similar question as Sarah actually. I have a student, sir, I'm not sure if I'll be able to convey this question to Satish sir, but let's see if he can understand. I have a student who has already got an offer from a university. He's asking for only financial service. Do we only do that?
No, we don't do that.
Okay, and what would be the process of refund of tuition fees? Can a candidate take only financial services from us? I think the second question you answered already, no. But process for refund of tuition, please.
Every university or institution has its own refund policy. So along with the offer letter, the refund policy also comes. So students are advised and counselors are also advised to go through it before you accept the offer letter. And refunds take at least minimum 90 days to get back. So before you accept for a refund, you are supposed to send them a refund form, which is provided by the university at the time of a refund request. So once that reaches, from there, it takes 90 days for them to refund the amount.
Okay, I think everybody has similar questions to like Sarah. I see multiple people saying same question as Sarah. So I'll probably follow the questions from Sarah, Sachin here. If we take one scholarship, do we get another like? If we take third-party scholarship, do we get university scholarship as well?
The third-party scholarships are different from the university actually. So if you are eligible for both, you can avail both.
Okay, and let me just get a few more questions here. If parents have arranged the fund selling property or gold, what is advisable, loan or to use the fund to make the visa strong?
See, loan against gold and other things are not allowed except for collateral, property-based loans. So gold loans are not allowed. Okay. So if you're taking a gold loan, probably you need to get the money, put it in the account and wait for 3 months or 6 months according to the country.
All right. So I would take probably this one last question and a strong one, I guess. What happens if the student decides to switch college after availing the loan for a particular college?
No, the college does not matter, but problem is you need to tell the bank that the student has switched college, because what happens is normally tuition fees is paid by the bank to the university directly. Now, if the student switches, the bank might not be aware and they will send the fees to the previous university where the student has moved out from that university. So you will end up losing money both ways. So it is prior to keep the bank informed before the student can take that step. And discuss with the bank what modalities and process has to be followed to do that.
All right. I have two questions from Naufal. Whether bank loan procedures also undergo via Edu milestones, and how do we connect a student to HDFC Credila?
Now, we are only facilitators for the loans. Now, what you need to do is, this is a pan-India agreement. So hence, we have a central point of contact for HDFC. So we need to share the parent's number or the student number, and the local bank will reach you to negotiate the loan.
Okay, we have a question from Sudhir. Education loan repayment tenure, and will it be the parents or student who will be liable to repay?
Now, as you know, the student is not earning. The student is the applicant, and the parent or whoever is sponsoring is the co-applicant. So the whole onus lies on the co-borrower and not the student.
Okay. So that's it, I guess, sir, for today. We're running, late already. We're running short on time. That's it. If you have any other questions, request you all to drop in your questions to your assigned representative, support representative, who will be assisting you with that. You can even drop your queries to satish@edumilestones.com, and we'll be happy to take it forward. The sole purpose of arranging this inner circle meet with HDFC and Flywire is to make sure that none of your students back out at the last minute, because that's the concern most of the channel partners raised with us. So if you have similar questions or concerns, any other issue or roadblocks that you're facing in successfully processing the application through us, please let us know, because our ultimate goal is to make sure that the files are successfully processed and you get benefited out of it. So put across your concerns, and we can definitely organize an inner circle meet with all of you to address that, as many others may also have the similar queries or concerns they might be facing. So we would love to address it and clear those roadblocks to make you perform better and keep growing along with us. So that's it for today. Thank you everyone for joining. I'll definitely be sharing this recording and the presentation with all of you. Any questions or concerns, you can contact us directly. Wonderful connecting with you, and thank you for being associated with us. Take care. Have a good day.
Nice. Great.
Good job. Good show.